Hey everyone, today we're going to be doing another video having to do with night vision stuff. We haven't talked about night vision stuff in a while. Part of that is daylight savings time can sometimes make that hard to do. However, we are back in the timing where night is most of the day, and so we have another item to review that has to do with night vision. Specifically, as the title implies, we were talking about the Holosun LE321G for green. Now, a lot of you are probably going to be more familiar with the LS321s or 221s or some of the other variants there. The difference with the LE, there's a couple things going on here that'll become readily apparent as we start digging in, but this is a different model with a couple different features and some features that I think make it appealing for some certain applications. It is not a coincidence that I have my Zenith MP5K here to demo with this item, and what I've been using a lot with this setup. So let's go ahead, roll in some footage of this thing being used, and then we'll jump into what is actually going on this guy.
Fight! Yeah, like you've never eaten a vegetable in your life.
How'd you guess?
All right. Fight!
Now I want to give a shout out to Gear, hence why I'm wearing the shirt here. He is the one who I ordered this IR unit from. These things are pretty hard to get a hold of, especially right now. I did still pay for this, but he gave me a pretty good deal on it and gave me access to one basically, and was the one who basically made this video possible. So I do want to say thanks to him. He does have a really great website with a ton of stuff in stock ready to ship all the time. Again, the LE321s have been kind of on hold from Holosun, but he does have the LE321, or sorry, the LS321s in stock, but we'll talk about that later. So if you're familiar with the LS321s or any of the laser illuminator combos from Holosun, a lot of the features here are not going to be too terribly surprising. We have a visible laser being the 321G. This is the green version. They do have a 321R. For the red version, that's referring to the visible laser on here. Now, the visible laser is also slaved to your infrared laser, meaning you can zero it during the day with your visible laser, and then at night when you're using your infrared laser, that is going to match up the same. So you only have to zero it once, basically. This one also has a IR illuminator, which is going to basically be your infrared flashlight to help illuminate certain areas. That is focusable with this little dial here in the back. The one on this one is pretty stiff to adjust, which is honestly fine because I usually have it focused down all the way anyway. However, the thing that makes the LE version different is the optional visible light on this guy. So whereas the other ones are just visible laser, IR illuminator, this one I can also have a visible light as well, which makes it really nice on a tiny gun like this where I don't have much rail space available, but we'll talk more about that later. Now, obviously we have a bunch of different mode selections, and if you don't want to use your white light, you can just replace this with a regular battery cap. Both of these do also have little flexible caps, so if I'm worried about NDing these or anything like that, I can just totally cap them. I'm not going to be giving off any reflection. I'm not going to be accidentally sending any lasers or illumination out the front. Now, on the back of this thing, this is compatible with Steiner style hookups. So right now I'm just using the supplied Holosun pressure pad using some Velcro on the bottom side of this. You do, however, also have the ability to use this with a power pack. So there's a little USB plug-in if you wanted to be able to power this outside of the standard CR123A battery. So might be handy for some of you, but that's not going to be something I plan on doing, at least not anytime soon.
Shooter ready?
Ready.
Stand by. Fight!
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 Now, on the back of the unit, we have 11 different mode selections to choose between, IR high, IR low, visible high, visible low, all those kinds of things. And that kind of sounds daunting because it is. That's a lot of different options to have to select from on here. However, realistically speaking, you're only using 2 or 3 of those. So for example, I'm probably just going to be either on the all the way anti-clockwise position, which is visible high, visible light high, visible laser high, or I'm going to be 2 clicks over from that, which is, you're not going to be able to see here. Actually, this camera might, no, it doesn't. It's going to be the infrared illuminator high and infrared laser high. Now, speaking of high and low, this thing is still a civilian legal laser, meaning that it's not going to be as powerful at its brightest settings as some of the law enforcement or military ones out there. But we'll talk more about how bright this thing is here in a little bit. These are fairly easy to zero. You have depending on how you have it mounted, obviously, you either have elevation or windage on one end, elevation or windage on the other end. Obviously, setting it here on the 3 o'clock position, this side here is now my windage. The one here on the bottom is my elevation. Again, you can very easily zero this during the day. I have personally found that the green lasers specifically are far easier to do that during the day. The green just stands out better under bright natural light than the red does. However, it can also be done with the red if you have the right target setup, basically. And then the other nice thing about this is all on a quick release mount here. That's included in the package. So if I wanted to be able to quickly remove this, I can, or quickly put it on. I haven't really tested the return to zero because in my opinion, if you're going to be running these, it's going to be on the gun all the time. However, according to what the manual dictates, they basically say it's going to be within 2 MOA return to zero as long as you're reattaching it to the same spot. And realistically, especially for a gun like this, 2 MOA across the room distances is effectively negligible, but for what it's worth, that's what they advertise. And then this is going to clamp onto any Picatinny rail. So underneath here, I just have a piece of Picatinny rail and then the M-LOK slots on this Midwest Industries handguard. And that has been working well enough for what I needed to do, which realistically is shooting at cardboard targets within 50 yards. So take that into consideration. Now, one other thing I want to mention going on back here on the back end of the unit, I have two little lights, and those are really nice because those alert me to when I have my infrared laser on or my infrared illuminator on. And especially if I'm, shooting with nods or something like that, and I lift my nods up and I don't realize that my light is still on and it's draining the battery, I'll have those little visual notifications that that's going on. And especially if I'm wearing my night vision, the lights are very, very dim, so you're not going to see it unless you're looking at it from the back end here. But even with night vision, that's even more visible, making it, again, easy to make sure that I'm not negligently discharging these or leaving them on in a way that it's going to drain the battery. Because it is worth mentioning, let me go ahead and switch back to the visible mode here. Whether you're using the on-body activation button, which is next to my windage button, whether I'm using that to activate it, I'll probably help if I took my caps off here. Whether I'm using that to activate it or whether I'm using my pressure pad to activate it, basically if I do a quick double tap, it's going to stay constant on. And if I just press and hold for any length of time, it's momentary only, so it turns off as soon as I let go. There is a slight lag, but again, not enough to matter in this context, in my opinion. So perfectly usable, perfectly functional, great body size, especially for having all things included in one: IR laser, visible laser, and white light and illuminator. And again, making it fantastic for a package like this. Now, this is kind of where we start getting into drawbacks. Because it is a smaller body, we have some limitations in how bright things can be. Also, the fact that this is a civilian laser unit is going to dictate some of those brightness specs as well. So let's go ahead and dig into that.
Fight!
Shooter ready? Ready. Stand by. Fight!
Fight!
So starting with the white light on this guy at its brightest on the high mode is 300 lumens, and that is not a ton, at least not by today's standards. Now, to put that into context, the Streamlight ProTac HLX rail mount, or sorry, the Streamlight's naming is not always easy, neither is Holosun's. The Streamlight ProTac rail mount 1 is 350 lumens, so for those of you running that light, you can get an idea of what the output might be on here. And then the illuminator on this thing, oh, and also the low mode for the white light is 100 lumens. The illuminator on this thing is, I'm not good at talking like nanometers or whatever the wavelengths and stuff are, or the power output is. But what I can say is that really the illuminator, even when it's all the way focused down, really starts petering out around like 65-ish yards. Anything much past there, you're not going to get a whole lot of light on that. And again, that's with it all the way focused down. If you flood it out even more for doing like more inside building stuff, it's going to be pretty limited. So that is where the big drop off is on these. And honestly, in my experience, that's where the drop off is on pretty much every civilian legal IR illuminator out there. And for what it's worth, I have done some testing with a civilian legal PEC 15, and the illuminator on this is as good, if not slightly better, than the civilian PEC 15. So to put that into context, if you want a better illuminator, you really have to jump up to something like the D-Ball D2 or the MAL or one of the Russian laser illuminators, at least as of what's on the market right now, or go with something like a dedicated illuminator like a Surefire or something like that. But at least as far as an all contained unit like this, you're kind of having to make those sacrifices to get it into this small size. And then you also have to consider the usage of it. If I'm using this on a DMR gun, probably not what I want to use. However, on a little subgun like this, from my experience so far, this has been perfectly sufficient. Now, as far as the laser on this, the infrared laser, like the infrared laser on most even civilian legal units out there, is perfectly sufficient out to a couple hundred yards, at least when you're using night vision. The visible laser depends on your lighting conditions and the targets you're using, but the IR laser, I have reached out to about 200 yards with this thing, and that handles it just fine. The laser is visible further, but I haven't shot any further than that for what that's worth. Now I know a lot of you are thinking, should I buy this or should I buy the LS321s? Now the LS321s are far more readily available. However, they're going to be a little bit blockier and they're not going to be made out of titanium like this. However, the big difference is going to be the white light. So if you need something that has an integrated white light, the LE321G is definitely the one to get. If that doesn't matter, or you're going to have a dedicated white light, you have a lot more space to dedicate to things, then the LS321 is going to be a better option for you, and especially because they're more available. And like I said, Goonin Gear is able to get a whole lot more of those in stock than you can the LE models here. So take that into consideration. So this thing has been in testing for quite a while. It's been on a bunch of different guns. It's been on this. It's been on my, it actually was on my Mark 18 when I was still running that. It's been on my 300 Blackout. It's been on my PWS. It's kind of been just kind of loaned out all over the place, trying to find where it fits in best. However, I think this is its kind of ideal spot on something nice and small and compact. If you have something with very limited rail space, I think that this is probably the way to go if you can get a hold of one. But if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go and throw those in the comment section down below. I don't have time to respond to everything, but I do at least read every comment for what that's worth. Sometimes if they're extra special, I'll post those over to my other social media, but that's a story for another video. I again want to say thanks to Goonin Gear for helping to make this video possible. Like I said, I did pay for it, but he gave me a homie hookup on it, and he does, like I said, have a lot of stuff in stock at any given moment, whether it be the actual night vision, you know, PVS 14s, or dual tubes, or lasers and illuminators and mounts and patches and all kinds of stuff. He's got a ton of stuff over there. It's definitely worth checking out, and I'll have his link down in the description below. I want to say thanks again to my patrons for helping to make videos like this one possible. While I did get this from Goonin Gear, stuff like ammo and range time and all that is not always easy to justify. However, the support I get over there helps to make videos happen. Hence why I post all my content over there early. We have some exclusive content. We have a Discord server. We do live streams, a bunch of stuff like that. If any of that sounds interesting, or you just want to financially support the channel, definitely check out the link in the description down below. But anyway, as always, I hope you got something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching.